Have you ever wondered what life would have been in mid-19th century? To be precise, to the year of 1838. That's what we are here to see. We are in central Jersey right now, and there is a village which is preserved as it was in 1838. This is an example of one of the first company towns in US built around an ironwork, and today this is part of a state park which also, as the noise tells, boasts one of a historic narrow gauge railroad. Let's explore Allaire village and the Pine Creek Railroad in the Allaire State Park. So we just made it to the Allaire State Park. The game plan is we are gonna first try to do the Pine Creek Railroad. In case there's a little bit of rain, in case it shuts down, their official motto is we run during the rain, but the storm shuts us down. So there is no storm, but we are going to still do the Pine Creek Railroad first, which you can see is right over there. And then after that, we are going to visit the Allaire village. That is a historic village. There's a lot of trails also over here. We are going to try to explore those as much as we can. So let's go. Now this railroad, unlike many other railroads, was not an old live rail line. A lot of the equipments here, almost all the equipments here have been restored. Some of those are more than 100 years old, but the rail line itself was built here in the mid-1950s by a group of volunteers, railroad enthusiasts who really wanted to bring back some of the historic cabooses and steam trains which used to run on narrow gauge lines. This train station is very historic and unique. This is actually a 1907 train station, a station called Freneau in New Jersey line, which was restored and brought right here. Alright, we are all ticketed up and we are ready to go. So I'm going to ride the Pine Creek Railroad in a few minutes. This is one of the oldest operating narrow gauge trains anywhere in the US. The engine which is going to pull our train today, that is from 1942. But there are some equipments over here which goes as back as 1874. One interesting thing is, though it says it is a New Jersey Department of Transportation, it is not actually funded by the government and is a private entity completely run by volunteers. And apparently their biggest cost every year is just the insurance, and they end up paying more than $1 million in insurance to run this train.
Employees, well, wrong on both counts. First of all, we're all volunteers. We don't get paid by anybody. And second, the state has never supplied one dime for anything out here at the Rail Museum. Everything you see here has been bought and paid for by your ticket purchases and donations. So we appreciate you coming out and riding with us today.
This is what riding a caboose in 1874 would have felt like. Time to go. Now the train goes in a loop in one section of the park, which brings it very close to the nature, some of the trails. It's a very leisurely ride which lasts maybe 6 or 7 minutes in a loop. The train goes around the loop 2 times, so overall a 15-minute, a very nice ride. What I am most excited is the train brings very close to the yard where some of the equipments are going through maintenance and overhaul. There's a pair of engines which were discovered underwater a few years back and are brought here, and we can see it right over there going through maintenance. So if you have a few minutes, explore the yard. Some of the equipments have absolutely fascinating stories to tell. Next up, we are going to check out the visitor center for the historic village. We're going to try to learn a little bit more about what transpired here. So there is a very fascinating history of this place. There was something called bog iron. This is not even something I knew existed. So this is a kind of iron which is kind of renewable by a chemical reaction between groundwater seeping from the water used to come up, would react with with acidic chemicals in the air, and would create iron which is very easily extractable. You don't have to dig a mine or things like that. That's what was found here, and that's what led in the mid-1820s the creation of an ironworks village over here. This was then gradually taken over by an industrialist, Mr. Allaire, who has produced more than 50% of all the steamboat engines back in around that 1820s, 1830s time frame. And this was a place where all the iron work used to happen. His main office was in New York City, but this is where sort of his expansion happened. At the peak of its operation in the year 1838, there were more than 500 people who used to live here. And what you see right now in front of you, this row house used to belong to some of the workers who used to live here. This was so remote from almost everything else, that he had to build this company down. There was a store and a mill and almost anything you can think of. There was even a post office which was created. This kind of went into decline in the mid 1850s, then when it gradually became what is called a deserted village, but then finally was restored and converted to a state park in the year 1957. So we are now inside the museum, which is inside the row house which we saw from outside, and there are some pretty fascinating exhibits over here from those early days, like what used to make this whole village run. You get to come very close to the inner workings of this village. I think we are in luck today. They have those costumed period characters like we see in this building. Alright, so they have a blacksmith shop over here built in 1836. Let's go in.
Really big sound. That constantly. All day, every day. They would have done it here.
Bakery is from the year 1835. And this is operating, and they make some delicious pastries and stuff over there. Let's go in. Now, after the bakery and the blacksmith shop, I guess that is just like a house. Is that the house of Mr. Allaire maybe? Because it looks a little nicer, a little fancier. There is no board or anything. Yeah, so we'll find out. So that turned out to be the house of Mr. Smith, who was the general manager of this village for 20-25 years, for almost the entire duration when the village was opened from like mid 1820s to 1846. It is a 4-bedroom apartment, something really nice. It had an outdoor kitchen, an indoor kitchen, all the bedrooms are upstairs, multiple living rooms. So it's a little bit of a luxury, I guess. So this section right in front of me, which is just now an open big courtyard with a little bit of remnant of this building, this was a charcoal depot. This is where they used to keep the charcoal, which will then feed the furnace, which is right over there. Men used to put them in wheelbarrows and would push them or bring them to the furnace. So right behind me is a blast furnace. This was the heart of the whole village. This used to run 24/7 for at least 10 months a year, and this is where they used to bring those bog irons, which will then be heated up to almost 3000 degrees, which will then separate out the impurities and in turn create the irons. Either it will create what are called pig irons, or it will create bars using which you convert it into, like, you know, kettles and other trinkets which you made out of iron. Alright, built in 1833, right in front of me is the stage depot. So this was your early car parking or the early garage. This is where the stagecoaches used to stay, and right over there, that really nice yellow house, that is the house of Mr. Allaire. Now everything closes here, all these houses, the entrance to the houses closes at 4. We are right around 10 minutes past 4, so I unfortunately would have to miss out going inside the house, but let's still go and explore it from the outside. Okay, so this is the Allaire house. If I was on time, this is where the tour would have begun. The exposed brick walls. I think this is the original section of the house, and maybe the what we see on the other side, that is the one which is sort of restored or rebuilt. He was a New Yorker. He used to live in New York. That's where his main factory and his office was. But he used to commute out here once or twice a week, every week. So he was one of the very first instances of a commuter in New York. It's raining, the park is getting empty, but it is also looking more and more sort of magical. It's closed, so all those blacksmith shop and the bakeries and all which we saw, those have all closed down. It is after 4 o'clock and it has also drained out of people. Time to head out of the park. September 11 in 1934, an ocean liner called SS Morro Castle caught fire and drowned and killed 137 people off the coast of Jersey Shore near the town of Asbury Park. The Ashbury Park authorities converted that into a tourist attraction, and it proved to be so popular that they actually tried to make the wreckage of the ocean liner a permanent attraction at the beach. That Ashbury Park is our quick pit stop on the way back from the Allaire State Park. This is roughly 25 minutes from the Allaire State Park, and is known for the Paramount Theatre, the historic Paramount Theatre, and the convention hall, which is right over here and connected by this historic arcade which connects these two venues. It has a historic boardwalk. The boardwalk kind of goes right through the arcade over here. Today inside the arcade you are going to find the Paramount Theatre on the left hand side and the Ashbury Park Convention Hall on the other side. And on both sides it is dotted with restaurants and shops, and makes it a very interesting place to sort of walk around, get a little bit of break, eat something, and then explore the beach. Other interesting thing about this town is there is this famous bar here called the Stone Pony, and that is known for launching the likes of John Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen. So yeah, this town is known for its music, its resorty vibe, its arcades. It has kind of gone through a decline since its heydays of 1930s and 1940s, but today is trying to revive itself. And that provides a perfect backdrop for calling it a day. Thanks for watching.